Hello, Empowered Warriors. Welcome to episode 12. Your life is choice, always. In this episode, I talk about choice and how it relates to the choices we make, not only in our behavior, but the choices we make as a result of how we think, who we spend our time with, and how we spend our energy. It is my interpretation that the ability to choose is a direct green light to start walking the pathway to freedom, to have the life, the health, the business, the money, and the relationships many of us desire. So if you're not convinced that life is choice, that's okay. Go ahead, listen to this episode until the end, and convince yourself. So, stay tuned. Welcome to the Empowered Warrior podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I am an intuitive coach, acupuncturist, and Chinese herbalist. This podcast is all about empowerment, meaning how you can maintain your personal power in order to have the best life beyond your imagination. An empowered warrior is someone who has the identity of a person who is healthy, radiant, and free from all suffering, and has the tools ready and available to move through life's obstacles with confidence, ease, and a sense of freedom. In this podcast, I bring over 16 years experience in Chinese medicine, countless years of self-development, and a passion for helping others find their personal power. I will be discussing just a few of my favorite topics regarding health from a Chinese medicine perspective, brain habits, and spirituality, so that you can quickly pave your pathway to freedom and be free from the chains that have kept you stuck. My intention with this podcast is to serve as a guide for warriors who want to form a healthy foundation of body, mind, and spirit, and sustain it by changing who they are being from the inside and having a stronger connection to their higher selves. My goal is to help students end the unnecessary suffering that they place on themselves by having poor health habits, negative thought loops, and a lack of self-worth. I'm so happy that you're here. Hello, Empowered Warriors. Welcome to episode 12. I have to say that I am super pumped to be back from my little podcast quarantine. Perhaps you've noticed that the last two episodes were repurposed, which were some of my more popular Facebook Lives that I did in my private Facebook group, The Empowered Warrior with Angela Noel, fairly recently. And honestly, as I get this podcast ready, it really feels like I went on a podcast vacation, which is kind of funny, actually. And as a business owner, you may or may not already know that it's so valuable to repurpose content, right? I mean, writing content takes time, y'all, but I'm happy to say that I'm back from my mid-July vacation mode and ready to deliver some fresh, exciting content for you. So over the weekend, a friend of mine messaged me with a quote saying that this could be a good topic for a podcast episode. And as I read it, I realized that this quote kind of represents like everything I talk about on this podcast. It was a meme on the Facebook page, quote, inspired by Buddhism, unquote. And there is no person quoted, so I'm guessing it's a concept that comes from Buddhism, which makes a lot of sense. Anyway, the quote is, quote, transformation starts in your mind. What you allow in, good or bad, is what will grow. It's a good quote, right? So warriors, this episode is all about choice. Choice, y'all. And as a kid, did you ever have something happen that perhaps had negative consequences? And all your parents said was, well, it's no wonder why that happened to you. That was your choice. For me as a child, I hated to clean my room. I honestly am surprised that my parents allowed me to keep it the way I did for so long. I mean, when I think about my room, it was a complete disaster. And my parents would eventually get so tired of asking me to clean my room over and over again that they started to take away my privileges until the room was clean. So if I wanted to go to a friend's house and they said no, not until you clean your room, I would get upset and start to fight back. I mean, I was a typical, kid. And all they would say is, well, you chose this, Angela. Clean your room and you will be able to go to your friend's house. And my mom used to use phrases like, you reap what you sow, or one of my favorites, you made your bed, now you sleep in it. So for many of us, I feel like the repercussions of choice are hammered into us as kids at a very young age. However, I find these lessons to be very limiting because they only teach the consequences of behavioral choices, but not necessarily how we choose to think, who we spend our time with, and how we choose to spend our energy. Am I right about this? I mean, when was the first time you ever heard that your thoughts are a choice? I think I only learned that more in my recent adult years, like perhaps in the last decade. You may remember me saying in previous episodes that we are a culture of victims where it's easier to blame someone or something else for what happens to us instead of evaluating the misfall, learning from it, and making a choice to change so it's less likely to happen again. Recently, I posted something on my public Facebook account that got some people a little fired up. I mean, in general, most people got the concept I was trying to drive home. But as you may or may not have already realized, humans interpret things according to their model of reality and through their own filters of the world. And whenever I write something and post it on social media, it is often something that comes through me so strongly that I know the message needs to be delivered. You probably already know that my messages are often thought-provoking and don't always follow mass thought. So if someone has a tendency to hold on to beliefs tightly while defending their beliefs and being unwilling to see things differently, chances are these are the people who get into online arguments on Facebook. Am I right? So anyway, and this is kind of also a side note for entrepreneurs who post thought-provoking content on social. Whenever I post something on Facebook that might be seen as controversial, thought-provoking, or polarizing, I always preface it by saying there might be something about the post that you find triggering. Because think about it. When do we get triggered? We get triggered usually when our model of reality is challenged, do we not? And because I choose to have the energy on my social media to be as high vibe as possible, I always say that I write content to inspire others and provoke different ways of thinking in order to help humanity grow and evolve. If you get triggered, I invite you to look within yourself and learn why you are getting triggered instead of reacting. And for the entrepreneurs here, chances are you have been in this situation before where you have posted something and someone got offended. Or maybe you decided not to post something because you worried it would offend somebody. And as a side note, if you are the second person, consider hiring a coach like myself to help you with your self-worth. As you know, I don't use this platform to advertise my services, so whether it's me or another coach, I have absolutely no attachment. But if you have your own business and you market online and you don't speak, write, or show up authentically out of fear of what other people will think, chances are you probably need some help in the self-worth department, which is foundational to having the life, health, business, and money you desire. Anyway, for those entrepreneurs or solopreneurs who want to stand out, it is actually pretty mandatory that you show the world who you truly are, despite the chances of backlash or, that kind of thing that goes with the territory. So this process of prefacing adds a nice buffer before the main content to make it sound less harsh, and also to gently remind people that they are responsible for their thoughts and reactions, right? So getting back to that Facebook post. So the post, as I said, was about leveraging choice in order to have the life, the business, the health, and the freedom most people desire. I used current events to illustrate that concept and started the post off by saying, this post might seem controversial because let's face it, if you have a business, you need a hook in order to get people to notice your post. And the feedback for the most part was mostly positive, which was a little surprising considering the example I used. Hint, it was about vaccinations. And vaccinations are kind of highly controversial right now. So sooner or later, if you ever decide to read the post, it was posted on July 24th, 2020 on my public Facebook page, you will realize that the post really had nothing to do with vaccinations, but everything to do about choice. As a result of the post, I may have had a few unfriendings on Facebook, and one or two people who commented that could not see past their model of reality. There was one person who I believe really, really wanted to know and understand the message, but she couldn't get past the fact that I mentioned vaccinations in the post, when basically the message in the post was about why wait as if the vaccine, masks, and social distancing are the only solution. Why aren't people in general, and obviously this is not for everyone, why aren't people in general talking about our own self-empowerment when it comes to the next normal? Why is the majority at the mercy of waiting for a vaccine instead of talking about what we can do to keep ourselves healthy? Why is there very little discussion about how we can keep our immune system strong? Why do you need to raise your hand and wait for the hall pass to use the bathroom? Why do you need permission and validation from others to do your own thing and be responsible for your own life? And there you have it, warriors. No matter what views you hold, everything is choice. Last week, I spent more time in my office than I usually do as I wind down my practice for good. I had more conversations that included the words, I'm freaking out, or so-and-so's family member or friend is freaking out. Some people are stressed beyond belief, and I want to remind everyone that this reactive state is a choice. As a practitioner, it is my responsibility to hold space, but also educate my client community. And while I'm a sensitive, empathetic person by nature, I have found that there is a balance between holding space and creating the boundary to not allow people to drown in their fear and stories on my watch. It's easy to give the sympathetic nod and say, I know, I understand, and get caught up in the stories, is it not? It's harder, especially at first, to set that boundary and lovingly say, yes, I know that you're struggling, but how long are you going to continue to choose this way of being? What are the costs to you giving your power away to your anxieties, the news, and other people? Where will you be at the end of 2020 if you continue to fear the future? Do you honestly believe that this way of being is helping your immune system and your beautiful, powerful body that wants you to thrive? So yeah, I say the hard things, even when it's uncomfortable. I am nurturing and also holding the boundary while showing people the pathway to their personal freedom. How would it feel if you embrace these concepts, knowing this is how we are all going to get through this? It's not by listening to the news. It's not by waiting for permission. I wonder if you've realized by now that the change we crave happens when we take back our power by owning our worth and creating health and wealth, and not raising our hand and waiting for permission to do so. It's being loving and expressing tough love at the same time. Maybe you haven't noticed yet, but that's when the expansion, transformation, and freedom many of us desire happens. Sooner or later, you will realize that fear, worry, and anxiety are all invitations for you to go higher, to get rid of your old stories and shift into this new, exciting paradigm where humans are freaking powerful. But it starts with you, and you not accepting anything less than a thriving life so that you can be your best and help others be their best. I can tell you how this will change the world and give you the transformation you crave, but I won't. I'll let you discover that for yourself. Here's the thing, and eventually you might begin to know this. If you are not happy, healthy, and prosperous right now, that is a matter of choice. So before I wrap it up today, warriors, I want to give you a few quick and easy tips for you to take away that will help you be more conscious of your ability to choose and to choose choice every day. Tip 1. Choose the people you spend time with. You should feel good when you are around your tribe, should you not? In good times and in challenging times. Who do you want to share these experiences with? Tip 2. Choose how you react and how you think. Yes, it might not be obvious yet that you have the ability to choose every thought you make. And if you're not happy with your choice, you can choose again. Tip 3. Choose what you spend your energy on. And this is huge because we're all energy. Can we say entanglement? What are you entangling in? Are you getting heated up about who is wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, or how often the neighbor weeds and mows his lawn? What is the cost to your personal happiness by continuing to entangle in other people's choices? In 12 years as a clinician and 3 years as a coach, I have found that choice is one of the main reasons we either suffer or prosper. Choice is the reason your business is thriving or going downhill. Choice is the reason you value yourself or don't value yourself. Choice is the reason you have vibrant health or diminishing health. And choice is the reason you have money piling up into your bank account or why you're living paycheck to paycheck. Choice is everything. So warriors, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the day, rest of the night, and wherever you're at in the world, that you live your life according to your own choices. Thank you so much for listening. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Empowered Warrior podcast. It is an honor and a privilege to have you as a listener. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast and would like to help others pave their pathway to freedom and their disempowerment and suffering and become an empowered warrior, please share this podcast with your friends and family. Also, it is my intention to help humanity grow and evolve to their highest potential. So if you really enjoy what you're hearing, please help me spread the word by leaving a review in iTunes. Thank you again, and I am so grateful to be able to serve you in this very exciting way.